Hello and welcome to the Neurodivergent experience. I'm your host, Jordan James, also known as the Autistic Photographer, and I'm joined by my co-host and very best friend, Simon Scott.
Hello, yes, it's another episode, and this week we're talking about trying to cope with anger. Who's going first? Shall I go first? Go on.
You go first.
Hello, how are you, my friend? You okay?
I'm very, very good. I'm really, really super happy. Although I have been very, very down. It's been an ongoing issue for a few months now of just like a roller coaster, mate. I'm super happy, but deep down I'm just angry. Like there's this boiling pit of hatred inside me for the world in general, and it's affecting me. So I've been on a little dopamine hunt, just keep trying to make myself happy with like video games and purchasing things that I don't need. I bought some really cool slippers. As you know, I love Jordans. Big fan of Jordans, and I'm pretty sure they're not. I'm pretty sure they're not legit.
When does that ever bother us?
If you are watching this, I've bought some Jordan slippers. They're giant Air Jordan 1 slippers. If you want, go on my page and you can see me modelling them.
I think that might be a record. We've got less than 2 minutes in and you're already talking about Jordan shoes. I think that might be a record.
Is it? I have to correct that. You'll be like, how are you? And I'll go, Jordans.
As you were.
And something I don't do enough of, and I realise this, and I'm so sorry. I need to say, how are you?
Who, me?
Yeah,
no,
how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'll be honest, I am juggling adult life. I genuinely feel like a big boy at the moment because I'm dealing with mortgage brokers and solicitors and having to sound like a real adult on the phone and not just there feeling like an 8-year-old that's like, please give me the house, I want the house. give me the house, I want the house. So that's kind of what I'm going through at the moment. So I'm having like really serious phone calls and everyone's saying to me, oh yeah, you've got your stuff together and oh, you're very organized. And I'm getting such bad imposter syndrome because I'm just like, nah, you're lying. Nah, there's a difficult thing coming around the corner. There's a hiccup coming, and I've sent all the paperwork off. I've basically got the mortgage, just waiting for the keys now. But there is that part of my brain that's going, nah, you've forgotten something. You've not done this right. And they're going to come back to you and go, no, stay where you are. You've got to live in your flat. So I'm kind of going through that roller coaster of emotions right now. But also at the same time, the weather's crap. It's getting dark and people are starting to wind me up. So, especially when it comes to people being rude to me. So that's kind of what I'm navigating at the moment. That's why we're talking about it today.
Exactly. It's why I wanted Ashley to join us. Ashley is my hypnotherapist. She has helped not only me, but my wife and daughter out of many, many difficult situations. I don't trust anyone else really to talk to about my serious mental health issues. Something, I don't like going into, but when I go into them with Ashley, I just feel like I'm in a safe, like the safest space. She's helped me numerous occasions, especially with self-hatred issues, self-harming issues. And I even ended up getting a tattoo of a stag on my arm, which is a stag that I have on the picture in the background, because Ashley helped me find that my inner stag is my inner strength. So I have my inner strength literally tattooed on my arm to remind me that, Jeremy, as I call him, he's always with me. And lately I have been struggling with that. So, and I know that you've been struggling, Scotty. So I thought, who better to help us live? I say live, in person on this podcast. Who better than my absolute wonderful Ashley.
Oh,
Hello,
thank
Ashley.
you.
We'll give you your official title, Ashley, because it is very impressive. Hypnotherapist, coach, breathwork practitioner, and meditation teacher on Insight Timer, which I have no idea what that is, so I'm interested to hear that. But Jordan and I often joke that this podcast is a therapy session that we put out into the world, and a lot of people that I know that have reached out to us have gone, oh, the light and shade that you guys have with your podcast and some of the things that you talk about have really helped me, which is why we did this in the first place. I got inspired by my therapist, Phil, to do a podcast because he said the way that you can talk about things puts it into a good perspective. It might help somebody. And he was right because he normally is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And I say that to my clients all the time, you know, and especially if something really resonates with somebody, I say, make sure to share that with somebody else, because when you're conveying it and you're sort of teaching it to somebody else, you know it on a much deeper level. The more we can share our tools with each other, the deeper we will know them, and the better we can sort of help heal the world, you know, one sort of person at a time. But with a podcast like this, I mean, obviously it's much more far reaching. So it's really beautiful what you two have put together. And I'm so honored to be here with you today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're
Our
welcome.
pleasure. Our absolute pleasure.
The
So,
other thing that I love about you, Ashley, is the fact that you're neurodivergent.
Yes,
Because
I
I
am.
that's literally why I was like, I trust this lady because she understands the complicated nuances of my mind, and you've been in difficult situations yourself, so you can just, you know, you're not just like, oh, talking from a clinical perspective. You're talking about it from a personal perspective, which is what I can always really relate to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I suffered many years, late diagnosed myself, only about 5 years ago. So I was 45 when I got diagnosed. And finally, you know, and it's been such a beautiful deep dive into learning about it the last five years or so. But yeah, a life full of many challenges and unhealthy coping mechanisms and depression and substance use and eating disorders and all sorts of different things. So I do come from a place of empathy for most of the people that I encounter to try and help with. Yeah, I know these things on a very deep level. And it's such a passion now to be able to share my tools with people and help people. I think the biggest thing that I say to people is I like to help people reconnect with themselves, because I think this is what
Yeah,
happens as we move along in the world, whether neurotypical or neurodivergent. Most people are sort of disconnecting from themselves. You know, we all have an inner wisdom inside of us, and life and expectations of others and all sorts of different unhealthy coping mechanisms cause us to really disconnect from that deep inner wisdom that is there. So that's my sort of overarching goal, is to help people reconnect, because we all have the answers. It's just a matter of finding them within.
yeah,
no, absolutely. That's really resonated with me, Ashley,
Oh, I'm
because
glad.
that is very much my experience, you know, of when I was in my deepest, saddest moment. I look back on it now and I don't really view it as depression anymore. I view it as extreme burnout.
Yes.
And I remember hearing a quote that I've come back to a lot, which is depression is a deep rest, or the
Yes.
craving of a deep rest from the character that you've been playing. And one of the reasons as to why I was so incredibly unhappy is because I was living on other people's rules. I was a slave to their expectations, and I was chasing a career that I thought would, you know, kind of the people that had been crap to me, it would prove them wrong. Not that it was something that I wanted to do. And I felt like I was very much a slave to what I thought other people thought of me. And as I've gotten older, I realized that it's only me that thinks that. And that's what I've needed to change. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so often the case, you know, and I think with so many of us, um, those first 7 years of our life, if basically we can only compartmentalize whatever is happening around us as in relation to us. So that means everything feels like it's our fault, no matter what's happening. And the only way that we can regulate ourselves is through our caregivers, through our parents. So if our parents are dysregulated, then we never learn how to regulate ourselves. And with, us neurodivergents, usually we've got a neurodivergent parent, and, people are getting diagnosed more often now, but most of our parents were undiagnosed. They didn't know what was going on, and they weren't able to show us how to regulate ourselves. And so we grow up not knowing how to regulate ourselves. And we look outwards for that regulation. We look for trying to please others or put on a mask to try and do what is expected of us, rather than getting that from within. So, yeah.
Or in my case, Ashley, your parents physically beat you, throw things at you, tell the neighbors that you're a bad child. So if you go to the neighbors and say about your parents hurting you, your neighbors won't believe you, or they'll say, I deserved it. And then you just live in fear since I can ever remember. And you just spend your entire life just thinking that hurting and anger is just a way of life. Like that's how things just are. They are
Yes,
violent. They are aggressive.
absolutely.
And that's what I was taught. Either my parents going crazy at each other, or them turning their anger and hatred when they couldn't turn it on each other, they would just turn it on me,
Yeah.
not my siblings. It was my older siblings, and then they left. And then when I was the last one, then I was the oldest, and it was my turn. And a lot of my older siblings feel a lot of trauma and regret from the fact that they left, because they left me.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them, and I got a good relationship with them. But I have this part of me that is just so angry at the world, and the fact that the one person that I really wanted to love me, who is my mum, literally, I just felt like all her love was just fake. Like it was just, it was just so she could manipulate me more to then hurt me again. She was an abuser. That's what
Yes.
she was.
Yes. Abuse, and childhood abuse is just, it's so, it just completely, well, everybody, no matter what your age is right now, it's basically 6-year-old you running the show, because it's those first 7 years that we build our model of the world. So if you are building your model of the world within violent abuse or any type of abuse, it is absolutely going to shape the way your entire life. That doesn't mean that you can't do things to heal from that. And it is ongoing work, because, those neural pathways are very, very deeply entrenched. And it's about really cultivating self-compassion, a sense of curiosity about yourself, and why you see the world the way that you do, why anybody sees the world the way that they do. The way we experience the world tells us everything about what's going on inside. And, and we all have a story going on inside. There's a narrative. The reason why we love stories, why we love to tell stories, and why we love to listen to stories, is because we're living a story. And there's a story going on inside, and there's a story going on outside. And what we're continually trying to do is we're trying to match those two. So with the recent events that have gone on with you that have really, really stepped up the anger, that story that's going on inside, your brain is filtering everything to really just focus in on everything that's matching that story inside. And the way that we change our outside experience is, yes, it's good to work on things on the outside, but really the most powerful work is to work on changing the narrative inside. And that will begin to change your brain's filtration system, how you experience the world. And we can dive a little bit deeper into that if you want to. I don't know if you want to share a bit about your recent experiences with feeling some really deep anger recently, and how that seems to have stepped up. And we can talk about how it only takes a few moments of, or a few days or even moments of a certain emotion for your brain to start going, oh, this is all we're seeing now. Okay, this is what we're going to do. There's a section in our brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS for short. And it basically filters out everything to only show you whatever it is that you happen to be focusing on in your life. Because we've got, I think there's something like 5 million bits of information per second coming into our brains. And our brains and our conscious brains can only take in about 50 bits. So we've got 5 million to 50. Now, the neurodivergent brain, I don't know the actual number for this, but I know we experience far more than a normal typical, which is why we tend to get overwhelmed so much more quickly. So the brain has to filter things out, and the way it filters it out is it just focuses on whatever you're focusing on. So we have to really pay attention to what we're paying attention to. And this is where we can learn how to change that filtration system. And this is all rooted in science, which is brilliant. You know, we know this, and I can talk a little bit more about how to change the brain, but I realize I might be talking a bit too much now. I don't know
No, not at all.
if anybody else wants to jump in.
Yeah, I was gonna just say that I'm not ready just yet, but I'm getting there to talk about something. So I was like, I'd like to hear from Scotty. Like, would you agree that like most of our issues come from like what you said at the beginning of the episode? We have mentioned before, and I know that I've spoken to you about this, Ashley, is when we have to adult. You know, we get so overwhelmed and upset and annoyed, and then, you know, depending on your trauma, you could get really angry because adulting is just so stressful. Would you agree, Scotty?
Absolutely. And it is difficult when I, in so many elements in my life, still feel like an 8-year-old in a 30-year-old's body. And I don't want to go to work. I don't want to get up when my alarm gets off. And it's fighting the adult world. And that's hard enough as it is, because a lot of the time I really struggle with imposter syndrome. But what I'm noticing is, especially as I'm reaching 30 and I'm maturing, there is so much of my life where I have looked out and gone, why does everyone else get it? And I don't. And I've spent so much time learning how to do things properly. Now that I've reached a certain age, I realize how many people are winging it, how many people are making it up as they go along, and how many people lie to you to keep their power and their authority. That puts me in a rage because I can see through it. Because I've been a highly masking person, because I've pretended, I've worn so many masks in my life, and I think about the different experiences I've had and the lives that I've lived. There are times when I talk to people about my experience and I can see in their eye that they think I'm full of crap. And it's because I've lived a lot of life experiences. I've tried lots of different things, and not easy for me to say, but I am good at most things. I've had to really accept that I am good at things. And what I have now is to use the phrase, don't bullshit a bullshitter. This is what I struggle with a lot in life, is I see people that are making it up as they go along, and the justice part of my ND brain kicks in, and I get really, really low tolerance for people that are lying or disrespectful or look down their nose at me. And then my brain goes, I'm in the process of buying a house and you're looking down your nose at me. One, you can't even get off your phone and look me in the face. Two, you can't do. And then before I know it, I'm listing off every single thing that is pissing me off about this person in front of me. And I can't even remember what they said to me. I'm just psychologically picking them apart and going, you're a loser for this, you're a liar for that, and these are all things I've said to myself. I'm just reflecting the negative things about me. I'm looking at what they do and I go, I hate when I do that. I hate when I do that. And then I lose my sense of self because I'm just worrying about what everyone else is thinking. And then I feel out of control. I go, well, I can't adult because I'm worrying too much about this, or I'm thinking about that, or I'm thinking about something that happened 20 years ago, and I can't separate myself from it. It's like I'm so wrapped up in the rage, but I'm not violent. It's all internalized. I'm mentally violent. I will stop doing things I enjoy doing. I will stop friendships. Just on the dot, I'll go, they disrespected me. Done. Dead to me. And 2 days later, I'll go, I've got no friends. Why does nobody like me? Why does no one ever want to reach out to me? And a lot of the time I've had to look at the action and consequences of what my anger has done to me and realize that, as I've said on this podcast, the worst bully that I've ever had was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for sure that we're on the defensive all the time. And in some cases, especially for me, the best form of defense is attack. So
yeah, it's the wounded animal feeling. That's what I feel like a lot of the time.
I just think everybody's out to get me. Like this super crazy paranoia that, like, anybody who's doing, like, if a waiter brings me the food that I ordered that was wrong, right? So that's not what I ordered. I'm somewhere in my brain, I'm going, that was deliberate. You're hurt. You're trying to take the piss out of me. You think I'm just going to sit here and just be nice and eat it? And I won't. I'm not that person in general that's just going to sit and take things. And I wouldn't want to change that about me. You know, if I'm watching a movie and the in the cinema and the sound stops working, and everyone else in the cinema just sits there. And I get up and I leave the cinema and I go and find someone who works there, and I'm like, the sound stopped working, and then I come back and then it comes back on again. And if I hadn't got up, if I hadn't been that person, that being me, everyone would have just sat there, because people generally act like sheep. They don't want to stand out. I don't mind standing out. I think I live to stand out. I think everybody knows that about me. But then there's standing out, and then there's unnecessarily creating an issue where there is no issue. And I know my dad used to do that a lot. Like, he'd just challenge everything around him, and he had no friends. Like, no one liked him because he would make. Okay, so here's an example. I'm just going for a nice walk with him. I'm really, really trying my best just to have a conversation with him. And I'm talking about what I'm interested in, which is something that he's interested in, which is science and astronomy. And I'm talking about Brian Cox. And I'm a big fan of Brian Cox. I really like Brian Cox. And he said, "Oh, I hate Brian Cox." I know he doesn't even know who Brian Cox was. He doesn't know who Brian Cox is. I'm just talking to him about Brian Cox. And he says, "Oh, I hate that guy." I'm like, and in the past, when I wasn't trying to get on with him, then there would have been an argument. But I realized what he was doing. He was trying to push me away because he was scared of me getting close to him and then hurting him. And because I realized that, I managed to break this barrier, and I just went, "Do you really? Like what?" And I started questioning, what do you hate about him? And because he didn't really have an answer, it sort of just pattered out. And then I just moved on to a different subject, and we just carried on. And that would happen time and time again, but then I'd keep moving past it. I'd keep moving past it because I wanted to make the effort with him. And eventually I broke down his barriers. And before he passed away, we actually had a really good relationship. I didn't have anything to do with my birth mother. But the thing about with my dad is the stuff that he did to me, it was because my birth mother would literally wind him up and push him 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 and then push him in my direction. She'd wind him up like a clockwork monkey and just push him in my direction for him to smash into me. And then she would do the same to me. She would play us against each other because she just enjoyed the fact that like she was the center, like she was the good. When really we were the good and she was the bad, because she was literally trying to hurt us both just so she could look so great to everybody. It was just so messed up.
So complicated.
It is so complicated.
It is. And, talking about especially feeling as if everybody's disrespecting you. This is another filtration system where we'll be honed in only on the people that we are perceiving are disrespecting us. The people who aren't, we're not really paying attention to that because that's not fitting the story. And so what happens here is not only will we sort of, and this is happening below our conscious level of awareness. So our brain will delete, distort, and generalize information to fit that narrative. So even if somebody isn't disrespecting us, if we kind of get a little bit of a hint of it, yep, they're, and not only that, but we will be subconsciously drawn to situations that will confirm that belief. And so, but the really interesting thing about people disrespecting us. So let's take, for example, you're supposed to be meeting somebody for dinner, and you arrive at the restaurant, and let's say there's no past history of any sort of disrespect or anything like that with this person, and you arrive at the restaurant and they're late, and suddenly it's like 10, 15 minutes, now 20 minutes. So do you start to get angry that I can't believe this person is just disrespecting me? Or, they could have had an accident. Are you worried? The way that you are perceiving that moment is telling you everything about how you are filtering the world. People's behavior is all about them. And it's very little, if anything, to do with us. So when let's say somebody was supposed to, there's a brilliant clip of Dr. Gabor Mate talking to Tim Ferriss, which I'll forward on to you. It's really, really great. And he because he breaks this down beautifully, because he asked Tim Ferriss, okay, give me an example of when the last time you got really angry. And he said, okay, yeah, I paid this construction worker to come do some work on my house. And I went away on holiday. And when I came back, he hadn't done it. And he said, okay, how did you feel in that moment? He said, well, I felt really disrespected. And he said, okay, well, let's think about this guy who was supposed to do this work. Why do you think he didn't do it? There's probably a million different reasons why he didn't do it, and none of them have anything to do with you. He is dealing with his own issues, and you're feeling disrespected, but really it's everything to do with what's going on with him. So it is human nature. I mean, there's a great book called I'm Okay, You're Okay that was written in like the 70s or the 80s. It's all to do with transactional analysis, which is a sort of a psychotherapeutic tool. And it basically posits that most of us are walking around feeling like, I'm not okay, but you are okay. Most of us are
Mm,
feeling this way, that everybody is feeling okay except for me. When really, you know, we're all just we kind of do even neurotypicals have to put on a certain type of mask, especially work is a great example. You know, nobody's skipping
Yeah,
to work, are
yeah.
they? But we have to operate under this, you know, sort of, you know, hi, how are you, when we're really not feeling
like
it.
the
And
professional mask, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it leaves us feeling like I'm not sure if I can trust how anybody's feeling. And this is where we've got to focus on ourselves, because
So I've
it's impossible to know what anybody's feeling and the basis behind their behavior. The only thing we can focus on is ourself.
yeah, I mean, so I have a question. Okay. So I've always thought, especially like with psychiatry or psychology, that you know the deep rooted emotions, the deep rooted memories of trauma, the individual trauma moments, or just overall trauma that has made me just so angry and so distrustful and so self-harming, you know, physically and mentally. If I could just figure out like, oh, why, where does this come from? And then I can heal. And there's this like idea, it's almost like TV psychiatry of, oh yeah, you know, your mother did these things to you and you just have to forgive her and then it will all go away and everything's fine. And then the episode can finish and everybody's happy. And it's just bollocks because I know I don't
Yeah.
need a psychiatrist. I don't need a psychologist to tell me why I'm angry. I am angry because the person I trusted the most in my life bullied and traumatized me. My older siblings all left me. Um, I was bullied at school. I was bullied by teachers. I was bullied by people. And then the person who I loved and trusted the most, my older brother, died.
Yeah.
And then I had the most anger I could possibly ever feel. And I just went on a crazy spree of just aggression and violence. And I would hit and headbutt and I would just hurt people. And I got suspended, threatened with expulsion. My life went from, oh, he's doing quite well, but obviously, you know, there's something going on there, to literally, I don't give a crap anymore and I'm going to defend myself. But it wasn't even about defending myself. It was like, oh no, now I just want to hurt the world. And I was just so angry. And then Sylvia comes along and Sylvia teaches me a whole new way of life. And then Simon comes along and Sophie comes along. My kids are there. And I haven't hit anybody in over 22 years. 22 years. I haven't hit anybody.
That's amazing.
It doesn't mean that I didn't want
Mm,
to. And the thing is
mm,
that I turned that anger on myself. So I say I haven't hit
Yeah.
anybody. That's not true. I've hit myself. I have hurt myself a lot. And I'm sorry if this upsets anybody who's listening. But this is the reality of trauma. And the thing about why it's so terrible, I believe, for neurodivergent people is because we are hypersensitive beings. We are almost like without skin. Like we're so sensitive
raw.
Yeah.
we're raw. We're so
Mm,
sensitive. So everybody absolutely experiences trauma, experiences bad times in their life. And I would never take anybody's individual experience, because at the end of the day, it's not a competition. It's never a competition. But when it comes to being neurodivergent, from my perspective, from many people that I've spoken to, and I'm sure it's the same for both of you, it's another level. It's another level of pain, emotional pain, physical pain. It's another level of trauma, because we are, and I am so loving. I am so giving. I'm so altruistic. And at the same time, I turn around and I want to help people, and I really like, you know, being nice and friendly and smiley. I enjoy doing that. And then when I do that, I am scared crapless. I am scared. I am scared because I'm like, okay, I'm smiling. That means I'm weak. And I am scared that people will take advantage of me, because they have done. And it's not like, oh, it's in your head. People have taken advantage of me over and over and over again. And it scares me. So my scared reaction is anger. So I have a multitude of reasons to be angry. How, instead of saying, oh, this is what makes me angry, if I can just fix that one thing, then I'll be fine, is there just, I'm just angry, I'm just an angry person. How do I help myself with that overall anger?
Well, I think a big part, and you're right, just to go back to the first bit that you said, we don't want toxic positivity here. That's not helpful at all. I think a big part of the neurodivergent experience, and I think both of you will agree, is we need to understand. We need to make sense of what is happening. This need to understand is just so great. And when you're dealing with an abusive parent situation, you can't understand that. It doesn't make any sense. And when going back to what I said earlier in the podcast, how things are supposed to go is we're supposed to learn how to regulate ourselves through our parents, because we are relating everything that's going on around us as if it was our fault. And then you add the extra added on to it where your parents actually said it was your fault when it wasn't. So we're going out in the world trying to understand, why is this happening? Why I'm a good person. This shouldn't be. We're trying to make sense of something that actually doesn't have to do with us. It has to do with the behavior of other people, which has to do with them. That's their work. But it feels somehow like it's ours, and it's not. So learning how to shift your perspective to understanding that people's behavior has everything to do with them and not with you. And that's how you begin to start to understand. And that's when the anger can start to lower a bit. It's like, okay, I can make sense of this now. I know this isn't about me. I know that this is about them. This is their work to do. It's not my responsibility to heal everybody. Everybody is responsible for their own healing and their own issues. And yes, it will affect you, but it has to do with them. And that helps that the neurodivergent brain really needs to feel like it understands. And that really helps that understanding. And a big part of what I do in hypnotherapy, which you've experienced, is we go into that inner world and we look at that narrative that's the story that's going on inside, the symbolic story that's going on inside of us. And we begin to try and make sense of our own story. And we try and, we have different emotions within us that can through active imagination, and we can begin to have imaginary conversations between different aspects of our emotions, our feelings, our personality, and come to resolutions within ourself that will then begin to change the way we experience the world. It starts to change that RAS, that filtration system of how we start to see things.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a little bit like, okay, so I've got lots of injuries. Yeah, I get back injuries, neck injuries, whatever. Right? I get lots of injuries. So in order to maintain my physical condition, in order to be able to continue, playing basketball or, going to the gym or running, I have to look after my physical health. And I think that my anger issues, my trauma issues, they are the mental versions of physical pain. You know, they're the
Yes.
mental versions of a broken back or a busted knee. And I think a lot of my issues is when I concentrate on maintaining my physical condition, but I forget to maintain my mental condition.
Yeah.
And I think, so I've almost come to terms with the fact that I will always have that anger. It can't be taken away. So it's like I can't fix my back forever. I can maintain it. I have good days, I have bad days, but I can't fix it. Believe me, I've tried. So it's going to always be a problem. My left knee will always be a problem, but I have to maintain it. So I think coming to terms with the fact that it's okay that I'm angry, it's not my fault. I don't blame myself at all. But I do blame myself for the fact that I let it get the better of me. I think, and because the worst thing that happens is when I'm angry, it you know, I'm not violent. Let me be very, I'm not violent. I'm just angry, just within like my words or just, I don't know, Scott, you've been around me when I'm annoyed. I kind of, it kind of just pulses out of me, doesn't it?
You vibrate is how I feel it. And it's I've only ever been in person with you like a handful of times. It's like we've always done this. You know, there are times when I can tell you're angry through the screen.
Yeah.
It's like it's you know, they say, oh, neurodivergent people can't read faces. I say Jordan's face comes with subtitles, you know. And there have been times where, like, as an example, you know, we were playing golf and you got angry with yourself, and I could see, I was like, oh, please don't like break a club or anything like that, because I have been that person. And I said to you a couple of holes later, if you ever feel like that, just pick the ball up. It's meant to be fun. It's not worth it. And that isn't, I wasn't born with that. I wasn't born with that processing. I've had to learn that over playing golf since I was 13. And I will tell you, I played golf yesterday. I'm still not good at it. You know, I had a moment yesterday. I was playing with my dad, and my dad was like, son, he went, you're trying to play the best every single time you play.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. And he was
Yeah.
talking to me about course management, and listening to you guys talking with Jordan, how I understand you. You know, I try not to make life about golf. Depends who you ask. But it's that course management. It's I'm not going to play well today, but let's get a good score.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? Anger is there for a reason. You know, this is really a beautiful part of shadow work. I'm not sure if either of you have heard of shadow work. So
Absolutely, yeah.
Dr. Carl Jung really sort of highlighted this for all of us to learn about ourselves, that, you know, if you can begin, what would happen if you started accepting your anger? Because you have a moment of anger. If you immediately accept that as a natural response, then you're not going to add the other layer of, I'm so disappointed in myself. I can't believe I got angry. Because that's where the spiral happens. If you start to say, okay, well, that was a natural reaction. This is a beautiful, there's a brilliant sort of thing to think about called cause and effect. And what happens is, most people start to simmer in the effect side of things. I'm feeling this. I'm really, really feeling this. And instead, if you can go, okay, I'm feeling this, but why am I feeling this? Go back to the cause. Okay, go back to the logical. That helps to shift you out of your amygdala into your conscious brain. Okay, I'm feeling this way because this happened and that happened. And that's a natural response. It's a bit, there's a great metaphor called the double arrow. And I think it's a Buddhist metaphor. So somebody's walking in the forest and they're struck by an arrow, and then but they all they do is go, I can't believe this happened. Why did this happen? Da, 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 da. And that's the second arrow. The second arrow is their own arrow of like, this is, you know, why is this happening to me? All of this is, you're simmering in the effect side of things where, you know, coming to terms, shadow work is really coming to terms with all of the aspects of ourself that we deem unacceptable. So anger is a healthy emotion to have in certain moments, and allowing yourself to feel that anger. I think it feels counterintuitive to sort of, you know, allow yourself to feel that anger, but it really breaks the pressure buildup.
Yeah, you absolutely agree. I mean, I have come to terms with the fact that, you know, I have this anger, and I'm okay with that. I just don't want it to affect my loved ones. I don't want it to boil over to the point where I'm pushing away, you know, my best friends, or, you know, like I've said before, but I've never admitted on the podcast, I've wanted to stop doing this podcast, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't want to do it. It's almost like a self-harm thing. It's almost like just an angry reaction, and like it could be somebody comments something really negative to me on Facebook, and then in my head that one comment that's the entire neurodivergent community. And then I'm like, well, if you don't want me to help, I won't help you. Screw you. And it's not these listeners. It's not Scotty. It's not my family. It's who would actually get hurt by me not doing this. Like, I'd hurt myself by not doing this. It's that one person who I've already blocked from Facebook. They're already gone. But in my head, I'm like, it's still bothering me. So
it's the guilt and shame, I think, that's associated. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think
it's fine.
These feelings of guilt and shame they serve to keep us exactly in the pattern that we want to get out of. If we can start to approach these moments with self-compassion and trying to sort of, and a curiosity of why we're feeling this way, rather than condemning ourselves, because condemning ourselves just keeps us in it, and you will keep repeating it. It really does feel counterintuitive to be self-compassionate with certain things like anger. But I think that is really where the secret lies.
Yeah, I think meditation, mindfulness, doing the things that I enjoy, they're always going to be helpful. But my problem is I don't seem to find the time, or I'm not making the time. Scotty, how do you find your mindfulness? Because I know that you have your own issues with anger. I don't they're not rooted in the same reasons as mine.
But I'm still angry.
But you're still angry at the end of the day. Like I said, there's a multitude of reasons people can be angry. I know pain makes people very, very angry. So, like, if you don't mind talking about it, like, what are some of your rooted seeds?
Well, do you mean like where my anger comes from, or how where does my anger come from? Feeling like I was broken. It's like I moved school at the age of 8 or 9 simply because I just didn't thrive in that environment. It was so overwhelming, so overstimulating. And rather than getting help, I was a problem. And my parents took me out of a school and put me in a school where I did get help. But from that moment on, I felt like there was something wrong with me. And I had a moment, and this was where my shadow work began. And I found this as a root cause of so much of my self-loathing and the feeling of feeling like there was something wrong with me, and trying to be somebody that I'm not, is that I saw my parents crying at the kitchen table, and they were really upset about the fact that I'd been taken out of school. And at no point did I think, oh my God, my parents must be so lost and struggling with how they're feeling and just so worrying about me. My brain went, you've made your parents cry.
Yeah.
You ruined their life. And every time I ever had anything where, you know, I've got two neurodivergent parents and I've had difficulties with holding them account to the childhood that I've had, which in retrospect, I've had a very happy childhood. And I was lucky in the sense that I've got the parents I've got, because I sometimes do wonder who and where I would be and if I would even be here if I didn't have the parents that I've got. And I look at elements in my life. I was so self-destructive. I really delved into substance abuse and physical abuse, and I was in a physically and mentally abusive relationship, and I told myself I deserved it. And I kept putting myself in those environments because it's what I knew, and it was comfortable because it was easy. And rage to me is easy. Self-loathing, oh, it's nature.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I've found with shadow work, and I mean, I had a period of time where I was self-medicating with psychedelics. And it's not something that I've talked about on this podcast before, but it's something that one day I will. And I had a particular time where I just went, screw it. And I took a dose I shouldn't have taken. And I was very deep in it, and I almost had what you were describing with you know, Jeremy the Stag moment when we were talking about it off air. I had a conversation with my inner child, physically, a physical conversation. And I remember leaving the person that came into that conversation behind, and I brought the child with me. I can see it physically. That was the experience that I had, in that I took my inner child out of the dark place and brought him with me into the real world.
Wow.
And that whole experience made me go, you aren't your thoughts and feelings, you just have them. And your parents, this is their first time here. They're trying to figure it out as well. And at the end of the day, Si, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And the more I'm learning about myself, the more at peace I am, because I look at other people and I go, I've got my stuff together. I'm way further down the line than a lot of people are, and that's a blessing. And I look at the experiences that I've had, and I used to go, I can't believe that person did that to me at school. I can't believe that teacher did that to me at school. But now I'm in a place where I go, thank you for doing that, because I wouldn't be the person I am now if it hadn't have happened. And that has been a painful experience. I feel like, you know, when we look at butterflies, they go into the cocoon and they literally physically melt themselves down. I feel like I've had to do that. And it's not easy. And it hurts. It hurts every day. And there have been times where I've looked at friendships and I've gone, why don't people want to be my friend? I'd love a friend like me. And yet I've realized that the reason as to why I've not kept friends is because that version of me I've killed. It's dead. It's not coming back. And you can't keep that relationship going. But the one constant is my inner child. It's my trauma. It's my rage. I can't change that. But what I can do is I can embrace it and understand that it's a part of me. And I'm not going to like everything about me. But it gives me freedom, because I go, do you know what? I can have a bad day today, and it doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
Yeah. I have this thing still now where I question why any of my friends are my friends.
Mm.
Why do you like me, Ashley? Why do you like me, Simon? Or like what, like, and I just think, are my friends just putting up with me? Like I'm that friend that's like, oh yeah, you know, if I could just tell him to go away, but I feel bad for him. Like in my head, I'm like, they don't actually like me. They just tolerate me. And especially I feel like that even more since you know I started the page and I got all these followers, and then all my friends, in my life, all the people that are in my life are because of my photography, because of my advocacy, because of my Facebook page, and because of this podcast. And then I just go, oh, are they only with me? Because, by the way, this actually has happened a number of times in the last 5 years. Are they only with me because of who I am as like the advocate or the photographer, and then they don't actually like me? They just put up with me. And I don't think that of the people that are closest to me, but there's something in my brain that just keeps knocking. It keeps knocking, and it's
that whisper, isn't it? It's
self-destructive.
just
Yeah, it's self-destructive.
yeah.
And it isn't, oh, I have a problem with them. It's that, oh my God, they cannot possibly like me. So I don't think, oh, Simon's a bad person, or Anne's a bad person, or Pickle's a bad person, or I don't think they're like, all these people that I love to bits are bad people. I think I'm a bad person. So why are they putting up with me? Because I'm so flipping awful. Then why would people put up with me? And I actually, even as I say that, I actually do think that. Like, I'm not just saying that. Like, there is, like, it's not even a little part of me. There's a huge part of me that thinks I am so annoying. I'm intolerably annoying, and my temper is terrible, and my opinions are awful, and people just tolerate me. And a lot of it does come from people making little jokes, and I hear it a lot, is like people go, oh yeah, I don't know how Sylvia puts up with you. And people who I love have said that. And they're saying, oh, in like a jokey way. But how the hell am I ever going to take that in anything but how does this person put up with you? And that is so hurtful. And that's people I love, people that I've kept in my life, people, because I know that they don't really mean it, but it will damage me. They might as well just punch me in the face, because I like banter. I like having a bit of fun. But I have open wounds. They're not scars. They are open wounds, and people can just stick their finger in it and really hurt me. And that open wound is my insecurities that I am a terrible person.
Well, yeah, it's going back to the lack of trust within yourself, isn't it? And you're right. A comment like that, like you would probably hear that comment be said to anybody else if you were a witness to it, and think, oh, that's just banter. But
Yeah.
when it comes to it happening to us, we take it in a completely at its most hurtful way. And I think the thing is that people, how many people out there are consistently staying friends with people that they just tolerate? It's so we have to sort of, I think the thing that's brilliant, what I like, the people in my life that I like, we're all works in progress. Like, none of us are without needing work, including myself. And so, but I'm drawn to people who are deeply trying to figure themselves out, figure the world out, are being vulnerable. There's a beautiful TED Talk, if you haven't yet seen it, Brene Brown's The Power of Vulnerability. It is a game changer. And this is how we connect with people. We connect with people by being vulnerable and by being real. And so all of the issues that you're dealing with in your life, you're putting that out there. And that is appealing to people, because it's like, do you know what? I know that I can connect with this person. This is somebody who is being real and is sharing, their challenges openly. And that's a powerful thing, and that really resonates with people. So
No, I know that, and I don't. I mean, I do have imposter syndrome. Sure, I do. when people will approach me or people message me and they tell me, and now this is happening with you, Scotty, which is awesome.
It's
You know,
intimidating though.
It's what? It's intimidating.
It can be, yeah, because I'm like the pressure of like, oh my God, this person's asking me for help. If I can't help them, then who am I?
Yeah. And I've had 5 years of people saying really, really wonderful things, either about my photography or about my advocacy or about my honesty. And it is appealing, but I always think, yeah, I wonder if you'd like me if you spent more than half an hour with me though.
Yeah, I feel like that
would
as well.
would you still, because this is the utter hypocrisy of the neurodivergent experience through social media, is the fact that people will say lovely, lovely things, and I don't doubt that they mean them. And because I'm helping them and Scotty's helping them understand being autistic. But I wonder if those same people would still feel, you know, like we're wonderful people if they saw us have a meltdown and that meltdown involved them, or they saw us being angry, or they saw us being upset, or literally they saw us being autistic. So it's like, oh, I'm an autistic advocate because I'm autistic. I'm not an autistic advocate because I'm, you know, an ally. I'm autistic. Scotty is autistic. And the thing is that I genuinely think most people, maybe it's not most, maybe that's in my mind, but I think most people absolutely forget that. They go, oh yeah, you guys are so relatable, and they go, oh, I'm autistic, I'm having a meltdown and I can't cope, and they go, oh, it's a bit uncomfortable. It's like somebody will say something crappy to me on social media and I'll reply with something crappy back, and they go, oh, I followed you for all these years and you're so aggressive, you're so angry, I can't believe you had a go at me. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, I'm autistic, right? Like I'm literally, I feel like I'm held to like this higher level of morality. Like because I have a following, because I don't freaking know anymore.
You're nothing without your audience. That sort of, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Some of it, it's almost like because they follow me, they think, oh, we can just say whatever we want. But if I say whatever I want, I'm suddenly a toxic man, a bully. I'm mean. And I'm like, are you serious? I've literally been so vulnerable with people talking about all my problems. And then when those problems peak because I'm pushed, and then suddenly I'll snap. And my snap is often a badly worded retaliation comment, which I immediately regret and go, I could have just ignored that. And for the most part nowadays I do. But sometimes I don't, because I'm tired or I'm irritable or I'm angry. Angry. Oh, who would guess? And I snap back, and then I'm the baddie and I'm the problem. And it's just incredible that people will go, yeah, I understand that you're autistic. And then and they do, until you act autistic. And as long as you keep that mask up, as long as you keep pretending to be neurotypical, they will accept your autism, in brackets.
A neurotypical's autistic.
Yeah. But as soon as you actually do something negative, do something, you know, autistically, clinically negative, then they suddenly go, oh, you're the problem. And I go, well, no, I've done that because I'm autistic. Oh, you're just using that as an excuse. And then there's, and that's the other thing, Ashley, is like, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to take care of my mental health. But then I've got an entire world that just attacks people like me, people like Scotty, people like you. my family. My daughter went on an expedition to Alaska and had a terrible experience because of other people and felt so isolated and alone. And that makes me upset because and then when I'm upset, I get angry and
sense of justice as well on
oh
top
God,
of
my
that. And it's
huge.
just like you go, no, I need moral resolution on this situation. And if you
Yeah.
can't have it, it's never resolved.
Yes, yes. Feeling like something isn't fair is that's been a huge trigger for me and something that I continually work on. And you're right, this is where social media, and I know it doesn't just happen in social media, but it's particularly with social media, it's so not real life. And it is just, we are not meant to be encountering this many people at once. It's too much. It doesn't matter what you say. There's going to be somebody that has a problem with it. Doesn't matter. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to have a problem with it, just the most benign thing that you could say. Somebody's going to have a problem with it. And this is where we have to remember this is social media. And I can't, but also we're human, and we see that this is where, comments on social media just really, it's such a minefield to navigate because there's always going to be somebody, and it's something to really, and I know we've spoken about this before, and I've seen you've come a long way with that, I think, in terms of not allowing people to really sort of get under your skin as maybe, previously. And it's a continual sort of, we have to continually remind ourselves, this is not real life. This
Yes.
could be somebody that just is hell bent on, I'm going to piss somebody off today because I'm hating myself today. So I want you to hate yourself. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that happens. And so, yeah, it's very, very
think
tough.
you hit the nail on the head with when you said we constantly have to remind ourselves, or our loved ones need to help us remind us, because obviously being ADHD and PDA, we either put things off or we'll try and forget things, and I think like for us, I think the best thing we could do is just get, like I said, that maintenance, like get regular help. So I'm going to be booking far more regular sessions with you, Ashley. You're basically going to be like a sports masser, but for my brain.
Yeah, I might sign up for that as well. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Where do I sign up?
That's the thing. And I have this in work. So I have a really great boss. He and I have had lengthy discussions where he basically says, like, if I need you to do something, what is the best way for me to approach that, rather than, oh, I've told you to do it, you just got to do it. So I've explained to him, like, send me 2 emails, both at the same time. Because if you send me 1 email, I will immediately ignore that first email. If I get a second email that's identical to the first, I'm like, are we serious? Like, I need to do that right now. So there's no putting, and at the end of the day, I always do my job, but I find it really difficult. But if I think, oh, okay, this is serious, I'm like, I go into hyper focus mode, and then suddenly it's not even an issue. It's like, oh, that's my job. I got to go and do it now. So that's what he does now. Or he'll call me and he'll personally say, look, this is really important. I really need you to do this. And I go, of course, you are my boss. This is my job. This is what I get paid for. I will go and make somebody else do it because I'm other people's bosses. I'll just go, I'll just go and
I love delegating. It's great.
Delegation, yeah. But at the end of the day, I make sure it's got done, right? But yeah, it's just that constant reminder of, like, instead of letting my anger just build and build and build and build and build until it becomes a problem for everyone and not just me, I need to remind myself or have people remind me and just say, look, you need a session with Ashley, or you need to do some mindfulness, or I'm actually redoing my bathroom, and I've said to Sylvia, like, the one thing that I want is I want to make it look like a mini spa. It's not a big bathroom, but I want it to be like a spa. So I'm going to have like lots of rainforest plants. I have a nice bath, and I'm going to have like a Bluetooth speaker in there to play like water sounds or rainforest sounds. And I'm going to use it, and I'm going to use it as like my chill out meditation room, and put some nice
Good.
I was like smelly salts and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to focus on. But it's like that's a few months away, so I've got to, so I'm booking sessions with
I love
Ashley.
that
Just
though.
like,
I love
help
that though.
me.
Self-care should be everybody's priority out there. You know,
Yeah,
any little thing you can do for yourself. And you're right, Jordan, you know, our mind, we need to look at our mind as a muscle. And so, like, you know, a bodybuilder goes into the gym and tries to you know, build up his muscles.
yeah,
Well,
I
he's got to
do.
do, you don't just build up your muscles and then stop. You have to do it every single day. Or brushing your teeth. You don't just brush your teeth once, you have to brush your teeth every single day. So our
Do you?
mind is a muscle. And we have to treat it that way, and work on our mindset. And you know, what you did with at your job is beautiful, because you obviously looked at that as you got curious about yourself, and you said, okay, I'm this way. What would help me perform better with this? I'm going to tell my boss to do this. That you went into problem solving mode. You said, okay, this is how I am. This would help. Let's see if we can make this happen. It's really getting into getting to know yourself, being curious about your strengths and weaknesses, and how you can use your strengths to overcome the issues with the weaknesses, because we all have you know, things that we're good at and things that we're not good at, and utilizing our strengths to help our shortcomings is really where the answer lies.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you, Scotty, as always. Just in general, just being my friend, being my brother. You know,
It's
and
easy. I'll be honest. I love being your friend.
aw,
So
And
don't
thank
worry
you so
about
much,
it.
Simon. I don't think I've mentioned, thank you for sharing that about your own therapy and
yeah, dude,
psychedelics. That is something that I'm
yeah,
exploring on my podcast as well. The therapeutic value of psychedelics, done with the right support in a therapy setting. Especially, there's some really interesting research for neurodivergent people with psychedelics. It's really fascinating.
not
Some
that
of the
we
things that we're
encourage
learning.
drugs or anything.
Sorry.
But
Not that we encourage drug taking or
No,
anything.
no, 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 no. Yeah, this is. There are certain places in the world where you can do it in a therapeutic setting, and in those
Let's all go
places,
to Mexico.
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, no, it's a pleasure, and to be honest, I'm comfortable with talking about it because it's a reminder of, you know, what I can and can't do, and where I've been, and I kind of, when I have bad days and I go, oh, things are a bit crap, I go, yeah, it could be much worse, because it has been.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes you've got to, even when you're having a bad day, you've got to revel in the success that you've had with the work that you've done, even though, you know, the work never ends. There is so much work that has been done, and it's good for me to sometimes talk about it and reflect on it and remind myself how very, very far I've come.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you
Yeah.
know what? You get a little dopamine hit, a healthy
Oh
hit of
hell yeah!
dopamine.
I feel great after talking to you today.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I feel really good. I needed this today. I really did.
I'm so glad. Well, you know, and anybody out there, you know, you get a healthy little hit of dopamine anytime you sort of congratulate yourself and say, you know what, I did that. That was really amazing that I did that. And not only do you get a healthy hit of dopamine, but you're more likely to do more of whatever that good thing was that you are congratulating yourself about. So so yeah, it's a missing link, I think, for most people. People are afraid to congratulate themselves and really sort of celebrate themselves, and it's really a secret to you know, feeling a bit more in control of your life, I think.
Absolutely.
I need to
I couldn't agree
remember
more.
that thing that you said, that, you know, other people, it's their thing, and I've got to stop turning it on to my thing. And
Yes.
I think the best thing that I can do, and like I said, I keep needing reminding of this. It's not like I don't know it. I just need reminding of this.
Yes.
Of the fact that I need to not get angry or not act on anger when it's completely out of my control.
Yes.
Like I can't do anything about it. Like, you know, the fact that, you know, polar bears are going extinct. It really upsets, but I can't do anything about it. I can do my little bit. The injustices that happen to autistic people every day, I can't personally stop them, but I can do my part. And that's, again, that's why I wanted to say thank you to you, Scotty, for just keeping me doing this, because with everything else that's going on in my life, I've got this one constant that actually makes me feel good. I think that's why I kind of like, I don't want to do it, because it made me feel good. It's almost like punishing myself.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, every week we do this, and it is so good for me. And I want to thank you, my brother, and I want to thank you, Ashley, for helping me remember.
It's something like, we'll wrap up here, guys, but I think it is really important to remember that, like, life is a big circle of control.
Yes.
We have none. But what is inside of that is the circle of influence, which we have entire control over.
Yes.
And I just try and focus on the things that I can influence, that I do have, even if it's just 1% of control. If I can't have any control over it, it's hard, but I just have to just push it out into the universe and let it go. I really have to. That's something that has truly helped me. But I must say, Ashley, you really helped me today. I needed today. How can people find your work? Where is it that you operate? How can people get in touch?
Right. So my company is Integrative Coaching, Breathwork, and Hypnotherapy. My website, which needs a little bit of updating actually, but you can still easily contact me through my website. It's integrativeiom.co.uk. You can also find me on Insight Timer, which is a meditation app, and it's free. You can pay for premium content, but it is free also. You can find me under Ashley Bentley on Insight Timer. I also have my own podcast called Tenacious Bee, which you can find on all sort of streaming platforms. And
I've
Jordan,
been on it.
Sorry. Oh yes,
I was on it.
Jordan's been a guest. Yeah, that was a brilliant episode. And
of course it was.
And we have. I've just realized I forgot to put it up here for easy access of remembering. We have a promotion, don't we, Jordan? Through
yes.
Shall we drive everybody to your page? It's a pinned post. If
you go to my page, at the top of my page, I have 2 pinned posts, and there's one with Ash's details and a nice discount code for anyone that goes through my page. And it's just to help everyone out, and just to help in general. So I cannot recommend Ashley enough, honestly. And I think it's wonderful that anyone listening to this can see why she is so helpful for me personally, and like I said, for my wife and my daughter.
Thank you so much.
Can we do? Oh, that's right. Thank you. Quote of the week. Let's wrap this up. Quote of the week. Getting angry is okay. It's how I react to that emotion that I must control, not the anger itself. You're welcome, everyone.
Thank you. I was about to say, thank you very much. That was really, really great.
Now I just need to remember that myself.
Yeah, I just need to write it on every surface, on every wall
new
in my
tattoo.
house. Or that's one way to remember. Yeah. Anyway, less about me. I need to stop thinking about spending money. Right. Well, to everybody that's listened to this, please go and check out Ashley Bentley's work. I will put all of the links in the description, as well as the link to Jordan's page as well. And if you've enjoyed this episode, guys, or if you've really enjoyed Ashley's work, go and check out her podcast at Tenacious B. And if you've enjoyed this, please give it a like, a subscribe, put the notification bell on so that you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for listening. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. Jordan, until next week, mate. See you then.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.